Horror Happens radio show. We are honored, we are privileged after a quick chat at the aspect of the Macabre Faire Film Festival. We've got him full force, and his first feature, if I am correct in saying that, in my words, and I had just brought this up to you, Jeff, off mic, Off Balanced and Enchanted. The feature is Romeo's Distress, and we welcome you to the Horror Happens radio show for the first time live here in the bunker in Blairstown. How are things, my friend?
Thank you, Jay. The bunker, at least from a audio perspective, feels very cozy, and I'm very grateful to be on air. It's an honor.
My pleasure, my friend. Hey, you know what? I'm glad to have you on. I'm glad to finally get you on. Things are so busy here in the program, you know, in the different sides of all the things that I do, the Ghost and I do, that we're glad that you took some time out to be able to jump on, because one of the things when it comes to independent film production, you know, you look at, you're wearing just about every hat, including a chef's hat with craft service. I mean, there's not anything that you won't do, but at the core of it, let's talk first about why you decided to jump into filmmaking. What brought you to this cliff in your life that you jumped off and embraced what hit at the bottom?
Well, I knew I wanted to be. I've always been obsessed with films. I've been obsessed with horror. Probably my first thing was my first experience was like Killer Clowns from Outer Space on TBS at like 6 when I was 6 years old. And then Night of the Living Dead, the original, at 10 years old. And then when I was 18, I was like watching The Snowball Effect, the Kevin Smith documentary on the bonus disc on the 10th anniversary of Clerks in September of 2004. And I was like, that was the epiphany where I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to tell stories. And then from there, it's been a long and winding road to make my first feature-length film.
Your first feature-length film, Romeo's Distress.
Yes.
Definitely a different style film. It recently won at the Macabre Faire Film Festival Best Screenplay, correct?
Yeah, it did. That was really shocking. I mean, it was shocking to get nominated for so many categories, and I was like, well, this has got to be a trick or something. And then to win one of them, to be nominated was winning enough, but to win was very surreal, because that was like our world premiere, and it's just a validation of the hard work of the entire crew, and it's the validation of the story, and it's just a nice feather in the cap. So I'm very, very grateful for it.
A film like Romeo's Distress, you pull from the weird side of Shakespeare. You have thriller elements with it. You have the aspect of the noir, black and white feel to it. There's a lot to love about it. There's a very eclectic taste that goes into your writing and your filmmaking, and we'll get to all that. But real quick, the Macabre Faire Film Festival and other film festivals that you have been a part of in the run for Romeo's Distress, how have they benefited you as a filmmaker and the film to get it out there because of how unique it is? Well,
I mean, what I'm learning, I mean, this is my first real experience with doing film festivals, and the first thing I've learned is that you truly know what you were made of as a filmmaker when you submit to a ton of festivals and you don't get into all of them.
Right.
And you start questioning yourself and questioning what you do. And if you can remain steadfast and, you know, start working out towards that second film, that's what separates the adults from the children. That's number one.
True.
Number two, you know, getting into or trying to spring into the film festival circuit, especially film festivals like Macabre Faire or New Jersey HorrorCon and Film Festival, is unforeseenly so a great way to start meeting other like-minded filmmakers. I mean, that's where I met you, Jay, at the Macabre Faire Film Festival. And you know, it's funny, I knew who you were because I knew you wrote for Horror Hound. And so I walked right up to you and I introduced myself because I wanted to start introducing myself to people that I was either aware of or, you know, I saw, you know, and that's kind of what happened. You know, I just started meeting people. I met this awesome dude named Sanj and John. They're like a team out of Pennsylvania, and they're doing this really cool, like, this really cool period piece, like feudal Japan, like samurai film. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like you just meet people, and I met Adam and Elsie, and Adam is an awesome dude who runs they run Macabre Fair, and who also sort of inspired me in many ways, especially with a script I have that I was writing. And so it's just like you connect to community. You connect to your community being like the horror / underground / whatever community it is that you're trying to be a part of, like going to the film festivals.
And that's one thing, a lot of people overlook the fact of networking, look over the fact of what and who you're going to connect with, especially jumping in for independent filmmakers, first-time filmmakers, and going to these film festivals. And I say this all the time to anyone who's willing to listen to. If you don't have a film in the film festival, especially the larger ones, even the smaller ones, it all depends on where you want to build that network, but go see the films, be a part of the atmosphere, support others, because that's how you assemble your crew. That's how you assemble your peer support. That's how you get to know the organizers.
Very true.
Jeff, I can't tell you for the 5 years we've been doing the program now, how many different film festivals we've had on here, and that's one of the biggest reasons why A, I'm writing for Horror Hound, and B, why these film festivals, I go there and it isn't, oh, my name is so-and-so from Internet Media. Well, we don't really want to bring you here because you're just like another fish in the pond. No, they know me. And Jeff, just same thing with you. Going to Macabre, you get to know Elsie, you get to know Adam, you get to know Manage Serrano, Lindsay Serrano, you get to know Sanj and John. And right now, guess what? Your foot is further than a lot of the people in this tri-state area when it comes to getting your films made and building that network. I mean, is that something that you've noticed also, especially with Macabre and the New Jersey HorrorCon, that, these people out here are fighting the same battle, and whoever gets the advantage seems to go further?
I would say the most interesting part of that process has really been comparing notes,
Okay.
And getting to talk with other filmmakers who are either have films submitted or don't, and hearing about what it was like for them on the other side of the fence and what they are doing, you take everything. I take everything into appraisal. I go, oh, well, that was a really good idea what they did, or that I would not try because that I don't have that same resource, or and never ever to judge, just to compare and contrast. And it's like, it's really an essential part of the process if you want to be connected to the indie community, especially the indie horror community, which is seems to be a very it's very grassroots about support. Everybody supports each other, share this, share that, I try to share. I have my page, Video Business Media, which is my production page, where I don't even know what it is at this point. But I basically used it as a place where anybody who has something, I just share it. I just share it on that page. It takes 2 seconds to click the share button.
Exactly.
So I just share. I just try and share a bunch of stuff. Just try to. It's like playing a game of hot potato. You just want to pass the ball. Pass the ball. He gets the ball. You pass it. That sort of thing. And meeting, when you meet people at these things and you talk and you're like, oh, well, that was your process, and this is your film, and then you watch the films and you see where you can see it in the filmmaking. So it's an education. At the end of the day, it's all an education. I'm learning a lot.
Well, let's jump into the film, Romeo's Distress.
Sure.
You look at the aspect again, the weirder side of Shakespeare. You look at Romeo and Juliet. Parts taken from that, influence taken from that gothic horror thriller as it is described, and it's exactly on point. It's got its ups and downs, its shock moments. It's got its conflict. It's got, especially in the final act of it, it's got a little bit of a feel of Tarantino with Reservoir Dogs, with the lighting, with the aspect of the beautiful treatment by the dad. I mean, there's a lot to really enjoy about this. And first of all, I want to know, black and white, why go with majority that and more of the color for the dream sequences? Because we look at this character, James, correct, James?
Yeah, James.
We look at James and his obsession and his search on whether love, carpe diem, seize the day. Is love mean everything to the world, even if it means it could be something terrible or treacherous that comes from it? talk about the black and white and color first of all, and get into the story. Where did it come from?
All right, I will. And you are like the best interviewer ever. Seriously.
Well, thank you.
Like,
I appreciate that.
you know how to set up a question. I love it.
Thank
All
you,
right.
sir.
Anyway,
I appreciate that.
So the black and white versus color thing. Well, I love black and white. I just love it. I love it. It's like this incredible like tool for transporting me into another world, and especially when you're doing something on a micro budget level, when you take the color information out of what you're doing, it sells it easier. It takes away a lot of the seams.
Okay.
And so, on that's on one level. And then on another level, so the way that Romeo got made, I met this guy, Nick, through Craigslist, and he was the sound man and gaffer and co-producer. And together, the two of us made Romeo over 15 months.
Wow.
And so, and which is crazy because the movie takes place in 3 days.
Right.
But like, it's like nuts. It's like, it just jumps. You're looking at grandma's face and then you cut back to James and those two shots are like a year and a half apart. It's like insane.
Wow.
And so he said to me, I'm not a cinematographer by trade. I'm like a videographer, but more like for music stuff. And he said, you should shoot the movie, which made sense because we didn't have money. I couldn't hire a cinematographer. So, I did know how to use a camera. So, but I bought a camera, but the thing is, I don't know how to light for color temperature, or I was really like freaking out about color temperature. I was like, oh my God, if these shots don't match, I'm going to be so pissed. And
right.
I said, well, it will be a little bit easier to light the movie if it's in black and white, because then it's either black or white or gray. And, some real seasoned cinematographers would be like, no, actually there's like these gray scale, which is, and they're right. They're right, But I'm just saying, from my perspective, it was like, this made me more confident to shoot the movie on my own. I didn't have to ask someone behind my shoulder, does this blue match the other blue of this shot? I was like, okay, it's black and white.
Right, exactly.
And the thing, the above all else, we shot the black and white in camera monochrome, meaning that all of the files are actually black and white. There is no color.
Wow.
So whenever you see something that's black and white, it is black. It was black and white through the screen, and we did that on purpose because we could really see what it was going to look like after, in the editing room. And it was also kind of a mistake too, because you can play with the image a lot more if you start in color and then go to black and white.
True.
Hey, this is Taylor Gentry from camcordertv.com, and you are listening to the Horror Happens Radio Show.
Enter the bunker if you dare and listen to the Horror Happens radio show via the TuneIn app right now for your smartphone and mobile device, whether listening live and uncensored on Homegrown Radio or rebroadcast it on Jackalope Radio or Rock Rage Radio. Download it now. Find us on the World Wide Web, horrorhappens.com. Find all the on-demand conversations via your smartphone, mobile device, laptop, desktop, archive shows, plus show schedules, links, photos, and much, much more, including Horror Happens TV at horrorhappens.com. On Twitter, also at HorrorHappensRS and at GhostJLK, as well as Facebook.com/HorrorHappensRS. Like us, share us, friend us, and join the Horror Happens Radio Show Facebook group.
This is Robert Kurtzman, makeup effects legend. You said it, I didn't. And you're listening to the Horror Happens Radio Show.
But there's also some, I guess you could call it truth. There's a lot of more truth to it's like you're shooting what you're going to get. And in a time where film is gone or film is harder to work on, it's like taking that same sort of principle and applying it to digital files, because digital files are such a huge safety net in so many ways. You can do so much to it in post.
Right.
But by shooting in camera black and white, it's no, that's your image,
Absolutely.
And then as a storytelling device, the color is there for two reasons. The color, metaphorically, the color and the black and white represent sort of I guess, this, it's morality, what's right and what's wrong. And, if you'll notice, a lot of the characters in Romeo, there is no right nobody's right and nobody's wrong. Everybody's just sort of fucked up. Everybody's just sort of gray. And then, the thing about the color is the color just sort of represents something that's not really there. You know, he dreams in color because, you know, it's sweet and wonderful, and that's just not the case in his actual life. Everything is drained of the color, which is like the passion or his ideal of what love could be. And on some level, it's also there to like tell you this is not real. Everything in the world that's black and white is real or surreal. And then everything that's in color is like, no, whatever you're seeing is in color is not like the truth, or is a flashback, or is this, you know? So it was really just a great exercise. And I'd love to make more films in black and white. I think that's like, I want it to be an aesthetic of mine, but I don't know. I suppose it depends on the story. So that was the first question. What was the second? Oh, and then love.
Well, actually, you brought it together very nicely with the aspects of color, both visual and storytelling devices. I look at it, and it's interesting how the black and white brings that perspective together. And you're right about being fucked up, because there really is no characters that are right and that are wrong. I mean, it's accidental horror that comes through in Romeo's Distress. Horror happens without a doubt. Did you, because the one film, and I don't know if this is an insult or if this is a compliment to you, depending on how the fan is, but the Human Centipede Part 2 plays that device very well with the aspect of Lawrence Harvey's character and the black and white and how it's just one side or another. And, you know, the horror is straight up horror, and the black and white dictates that. Instead of adding color and adding layers to it, it's just gore for gags, and the black and white dictates that. Is there any connection or influence of a film like that, or where did the influence draw from for you when it came to cultivating the story and the black and white color?
Okay, so, well, first of all, I'm definitely not insulted. I did see the Human Centipede 2 at the Music Box in Chicago.
Nice.
I didn't watch it. I don't think I watched it for artistic purposes, though. I think I watched it because I was like, I want to see some really fucked up shit.
Yeah, you got it.
And, I mean, the original idea for Romeo was actually way more fucked up than what ended up on screen. And what ended up on screen ended up becoming Romeo and Juliet, but originally it was supposed to be more like necromantic and more like, yeah. I love necromantic a lot. I'd say actually, if you want to go with your black and white fucked up movies, the real one would be pointed to necromantic and not to Human Centipede.
Okay, fair enough.
Although wait, necromantic was in color though, right? Or did it have black and white in it?
But the tones in that there are so much darker that you could sit back and say,
that's what I'm thinking of.
So it could be very, very much with it. but real quick though, Jeff, that's one thing with it. And the aspect of toning down what the original story was, as people watch this film and understand the ending on how the ball gets rolling and how Romeo goes through this ordeal with Jane's father, with the aspect of the boyfriend, the bee that's involved with this, you can understand how extreme it could have been. That's fascinating that you cut it down so much.
Well, I mean, part of that was because I reached a choice. I had to make a choice. We were shooting the movie and we were shooting the end, and something happened. We ended up losing a character that in a very sort of like Murphy's Law sort of way. It just a decision had to be made to go in a completely different direction than what was originally intended. And when that decision was made, a character had to be made up on the spot. The character that I play, that cameo, was never intended to be in the movie. The gravedigger. Right. Yeah, that was a complete that was a 24-hour, we need to make something up right now, and then we need to seed it through the rest of the movie. Because originally the movie is just it just ends way different. And then once that character came into play and that he makes poison, we started to see more of a Romeo and Juliet, become more Romeo and Juliet then. And the fact that the title Romeo's Distress does not come from Romeo and Juliet, it comes from originally the Christian Death song, which I wanted to license for this film, but probably will not now. Okay. And but my point is just that I don't know what my point was. We were talking about
the aspect,
the toning it down. Yeah, my mom and dad were like, "You can't have that at the end," you know. And I was like, they were like, make it more subtle. And then when my character came in, it just seemed to sort of like work. And there's a lot of like sort of there's a little bit of surrealism involved in that part of the plot line, because originally the plot is supposed to take place in the realer than real world. And then once my character got introduced, it started to be like, oh, let's do something a little bit more surreal here, which is what Nick was really into as well. So that's what, and then because we had this character at the end of the movie, we're like, okay, well, now we have to put him at the beginning, we have to put him at the end, we have to put him everywhere. And so we would so really the character almost becomes this surreal juxtaposition. You can tell that there's a relation between him and James, and you don't know what it is. And it's really no answer. It's up to you to decide. You know what I mean? And cool. You know, but the idea, the real idea, the core of the story, it started off as a love triangle with a dead person, and then eventually became what you said, horror happens. Well, I was like, I want to talk about the horrors of love, more than anything, unrequited love. And what if there was a horror story where Romeo loved Juliet and Juliet didn't know that Romeo existed. And so that Romeo was cursed to know that he's this a star-crossed lover and that there's no stars on the other end of the universe. And so he sort of has to make it himself, and that's what the carpe diem is, I guess. He has to seize the day himself because it doesn't exist. It doesn't actually exist, and so he has to make his own destiny. And you know, and the thing is, like, there's many different types of love. As you can see, there's like, you know, the love that Dale has for his daughter, you know, the father has for his daughter. That's one kind of love. And then where he takes his love for his daughter is another twisted place. Then there's the love that James has for Jane, or what he thinks is love, or maybe he doesn't know what love is, you know? And that's what the whole conversation is with the and then there's Grandma's love. Grandma loves James, and he loves her, and she misses her husband, and so she's telling him to go seize the day because she misses her husband who's been dead. And that's actually my real grandmother. That picture that he points to is her when she was younger, and my deceased grandfather. So there's like so there's like a lot of me in this. I guess, I don't know.
Well, James is the character James. Can you talk about writing him and casting for him because of how crucial and key he is in both in different versions of the story? He has to be someone who can handle a lead like this and take it into some really different and weird places.
Okay, so James was originally going to be this other guy who just was. I mean, listen, I'm not speaking ill of him. Let's just say that right before shooting started, he started to become a little difficult. And because I was juggling so many plates, I just had to make a decision. I was like, I just can't. I don't know if like halfway through this film, because I had no idea how long it was going to take. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle this.
Right.
And so I wrote a very polite email just saying, listen, I think I'm going to go in a different direction here. And we ended up, instead of shooting his scenes, we were supposed to shoot with him that weekend. I just switched around. I was like, all right, let's shoot everything that doesn't have James in it. And I put out a casting call for James. And this guy who I took acting 1, 2, and 3 with at Westchester Community College 10 years ago sends me an email. We haven't spoken in 10 years. And he's just like, hey, I see you're doing a movie. I completely forgot he existed. His name's Anthony Melcar.
Yeah.
And I brought him down to audition, and he just, I mean, he's a theater actor. He's never acted in a film before.
Right.
And he just blew me the hell away. He just blew me away. And what started to happen with every day that we shot, we did 23 days over 15 months.
Wow.
And he stuck by me for the whole shoot. I mean, it really, truly, and I'm so great. Without him, without Nick, without everybody, the movie never would have gotten made. But Anthony, I mean, he's in 90% of the film. So it was like, for him to just come in there and put in his time, unreal. And what he started to do was, I would tell him, like, for instance, when he goes to smell that flower at the beginning,
right?
When he sees the flower. So originally the script, it's just like, okay, just walk down the stairs and walk by the flower. And so he goes and does it, and he looks for a minute. He looks down at this trash can. He sees there's an empty soda can, picks that up, goes to the top of the stairs. We start rolling. He slides down the banister, does this little twist, pretends to drink the soda, and then slam dunks the soda into the trash. And my jaw dropped, because with just these little touches that he just came up with on his own. I didn't tell him to do that. He brought the character to life. He was bringing personality where there was no personality written. He was making that character his own. And a trust started to begin with us where I would be like, okay, I stopped like telling him stuff. He just would do stuff and I'd be like, that's so cool. I'm so glad we have that. Or like the beginning with the statue, we picked that Sleepy Hollow Cemetery.
Right.
And so when he's eating the sandwich at the beginning, we just picked that randomly, that monument, whatever you want to call it. And he says, hey, what if I offer the girl, it's like a statue of a girl, what if I offer her my sandwich? And I was like, yeah, do it. And he just did that. And it tells you about the character without saying anything, without writing anything. It's just like, that's what every actor, that's what I wish or I hope in the future. Like, I want every actor to bring that to my vision. You know what I mean? Like, that's the collaboration. There's trust. You can't micromanage an actor. That's what I learned from that. I was like, you give an actor your part, his part. You let him figure it out. You talk about it a little bit, and then just let him wind them up, and then let them roll on their own. They can do it.
Wow.
And it was a deep learning lesson for me. And he makes that movie, man. He makes that friggin' movie all the way through.
Well, Jeff, we're coming up on it already. It's already been 30 minutes. I can't believe how fast things go.
Unbelievable.
So there is so much more to go into this. On top of not only the aspect of lighting and effect with it, especially in the final act, the aspect of the city versus White Plains, dealing with contrasting sets, dealing with the aspect of the masturbation scene and how you construct it, the aspect of his room, the idea of dealing with unfortunate luck, the editing of it, the feeling of importance, self-empowerment. There's a lot that goes into this film, and that we will go ahead and we'll talk this for the next conversation, and probably a written interview coming your way very, very soon.
I would very much like that. You let me know.
I will get that out there with it. Where is this very detailed, very tragic, very weird love story going to be playing? Because for the people listening right now who have just gotten a little itty bitty taste of the madness that you are bringing with Romeo's Distress, they're going to want to see it. So where are we going to see it next?
Hi, I'm Tom Toles. You may know me from Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, House of a Thousand Corpses, the remake of 1990, whatever that fucking movie was. Sorry, it's a minor case of Tourette's. And you're listening to Horror Happens.
Well, I know it's playing at the Toxic Film Festival. It's the first one. We've been officially selected. It's in Italy. I don't know where they're playing or if it's an online competition. I don't know what the details are. And then I'm waiting to hear back from several other festivals that I will not name because if I don't get in, I don't want to name them and not get in. Because that's what every filmmaker thinks. They never want to say that out loud, but that's the truth. And I really hope I get into one of them. Any of them. They all look like, I was very specific with film festivals. Like, I want to make sure I'm hitting a target audience because this movie is not for everybody. And so we'll see what happens. And that's it for now. So it's kind of hard to see, but eventually everybody's going to be able to see it. Eventually it'll be on Amazon Prime. Hands down, I'm sure of it.
Wow.
So,
God, dude, Jeff, this is so awesome, dude. Congratulations, man, on everything that's going at a mile a minute. But I have no doubt that this is something, even a mile a minute, that it just blows you away with everything that's come.
Thank you.
You're welcome, so much, my friend. You're very, very welcome. Jeff, where can they find out more about Romeo's Distress and check out the information, the pertinent stuff about it, why they wait to see it at the next film festival?
They can find more information at the Facebook page. That's the official page.
Okay.
Just go to facebook.com/Romeo's Distress Movie, or find me on Facebook at Jeff Frumess and be like, hey, Jeff, can you point me in the direction of your movie? I'll be like, yeah, sure, it's over here. And I'll point. and that's what I'll do.
Fantastic, my friend. It's great to have you on, the first of many conversations, no doubt, here on the Horror Happens radio show.
Thank you for having me. I can't wait to come back.
My pleasure. I look forward to having a more lengthy conversation also, because time burns so quick when you have such passion
it just
behind
goes by.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Jeff, thank you so much, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day, and
too, my friend.
Talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Bye. All right, Jeff Frumess here on the Horror Happens Radio Show. You have no idea, folks, how much I wanted that conversation to go on and to talk more with him about Romeo's Distress. There is so much good with this film, so much well-earned and a lot of hard work. Not even an idea, 15 months it took to be able to create this. The film, very similar to Torrin Langan's Three Dead Trick-or-Treaters, it has that artistic feel to it, but at the same time, you have horror happening for a variety of different reasons, and a lot of it not the fault of the main character. A lot of it being an unfortunate victim of what's happening and how he is handled by those around him, including Jane's father, the aspect of Jane, the woman that James is so in love with, his own family. I mean, just a lot of stuff with it. And as we go forward with this, we'll definitely do a written interview with Jeff to get more information about it. But look forward to seeing how it gets, and we'll talk with him definitely when it releases.